This is the Kindle Scribe, and it's Amazon's first combined e-reader and digital note-taking device. When Amazon entered the e-reading market over 15 years ago, the company wasn't actually the first one to release an e-ink reading device. But nonetheless, Amazon managed to reshape the book market with the many Kindle generations, and the Kindle brand became a synonym for ebooks and e-readers over the years all over the world. Let's find out if Amazon can once again reshape an existing market, in this case the digital note-taking market, and see if the Kindle Scribe has what it takes in this in-depth, hands-on review. When unboxing the Kindle Scribe, you immediately notice the absolutely stunning build quality. Up until now, the Kindle Oasis was the highest quality e-reader out there, but the Kindle Scribe is even better. It also has an aluminum body, which on first glance very much resembles the smaller sibling. But holding it in the hand, you can feel that Amazon refined the build in some seemingly small areas, but those make a huge difference. The edges of the Kindle Scribe are noticeably less sharp than on the Oasis, which was an important refinement because the higher weight of 433 grams would have been a problem otherwise. And also, thanks to the more rounded edges on the back and the super thin design of only 5.8 millimeters, the Kindle Scribe feels much lighter than it actually is. I even had to check the weight with my kitchen scale because I couldn't quite believe it. It also helps that Amazon continues to follow the principle of form follows function. Instead of shrinking the grip area of the Kindle Scribe to make it appear more modern, the Kindle Scribe's grip doesn't try to pretend it's small. Unlike the competition from Remarkable, Huawei or Onyx, Amazon didn't go for two-toned optical trickery to make it visually smaller and instead simply kept the flush front unicolored. That wider grip helps in easily securing the Scribe with your thumb without having to worry about touching the screen. Even holding it for longer periods isn't a huge deal. From all of this, you can see that a lot of thought was put into the development of the device. But you don't need to hold it in your hand to notice that. Also, when putting it down on a desk, the Kindle Scribe is a joy to handle. Because same as the Remarkable 2, it has 4 rubber feet on the back side, which help with on-desk stability. Talking about stability, the Kindle Scribe also feels incredibly sturdy. Even though it has a much larger screen than the other Kindles, there's no creaking or cracking, even when trying to actively flex it a bit. There's just one thing I don't like about the design, which is the power button and USB-C connector placement on the side. Especially when holding the Scribe in your right hand, you can feel both on your hand. Depending on the hand position, this can be more or less noticeable. The Kindle Scribe is available with 2 different pens. Both are passive, which means you don't need to charge or pair them with the e-reader. You can simply start writing on the screen. The pens both have a smooth surface, and at 14 and 15 grams, both the standard and premium pen are well weighted. Since the Scribe is using Wacom touchscreen technology, you can use other styluses as well, if you like to use something lighter or heavier. The premium stylus has an additional shortcut button and an eraser function on top. Both can be real time savers when using the e-reader. The shortcut button can be customized with different predefined functions. When not using the pen, you simply put it on the side of the e-reader where it is held magnetically. And just like the rest of the design, you can tell that a lot of tweaking was done here. The magnets for holding the pen are not too weak, so you don't have to worry about it coming off during normal use. And they are not too strong, so you don't struggle when taking it off. Which brings us to the display, which is arguably one of the most important parts of both an e-reader and a digital note-taking device. I can't continue the theme of mentioning that Amazon put a lot of thought into the Kindle Scribe, because that's obviously also true for the screen. The Kindle Scribe is the first e-reader in the 10-inch segment which has a 300 ppi e-ink Carta display. There is no other device on the market at the time of recording this video that has an equally as sharp e-ink screen in this size segment. Other devices like the Remarkable 2 all have 226 or 227 ppi. You can of course argue that you don't really notice the difference in pixel density in everyday use. But that's not entirely true. I also thought it wouldn't make much of a difference, because I usually hold a larger display further away from my face. But the higher pixel density not only makes the text clearer, but also allows for more precise note-taking. I asked my girlfriend to use the Kindle Scribe and Onyx Books Tab Ultra side by side, and without knowing anything about the screens, she was immediately able to tell that the display of the Kindle Scribe has the higher resolution. Not because she was pixel peeping, but because she felt the Scribe allowed for more precise line drawings and less pixelated lines overall, which I can confirm. Sure, it's not the biggest difference, but it's small things like this that stack up and overall help with making a digital note-taking device great. Another puzzle piece which makes the Kindle Scribe's writing experience feel nice is its display texture. Same as the Remarkable 2, for which I will post a separate comparison video shortly, so make sure to subscribe to not miss it. There is paper-like friction when using the stylus on the screen. So that makes a clear difference when comparing it to regular tablets and even when compared to the Huawei MatePad Paper or Onyx Books Tab Ultra, which are also using e-ink screens with Wacom touchscreen technology. One of the biggest differences to dedicated e-note devices like the Remarkable 2 or Supernote is the inclusion of built-in lighting. The other companies argue that an additional plastic layer on top of the e-ink screen will dilute the paper-like writing experience. And that's certainly true to some degree. From the subtle shadows on the edge of the screen, you can see that the Kindle Scribe's ink display is positioned a little lower under the front glass than it's the case on the Remarkable 2. But for me, that doesn't really translate to a worse writing experience, because pen latency is so low. Amazon isn't giving any official numbers on the latency, but I checked it with a super slow motion recording, with which I measured a 20 milliseconds latency when using the pen, which is on par with the Remarkable 2. In other words, writing on a Kindle Scribe feels very natural. With 20 milliseconds, there is still a small delay which you do perceive when watching closely, but it isn't distracting in everyday use. In my opinion, the built-in Frontlight compensates for any disadvantages that arise from having that extra layer on top of the screen. With using the Scribe, you're truly independent of outside light sources, which you can say for the Remarkable 2 or Supernote. Taking notes in a dimly lit room is absolutely no problem with the Scribe. And that's obviously also true for reading ebooks, because after all, that's still at least 50% of its main purpose. The built-in light is also color temperature adjustable, which I don't want to miss out on anymore. I find an orange light setting much more comfortable to use in the evening and at night. The lighting quality is good, but not on the same very high level as on the Kindle Paperwhite and Kindle Oasis, which has something to do with the larger screen and the nature of front lighting technology. Because the LEDs are positioned in the bezel on the side of the screen and light is distributed through a special carrier film, there is a slight brightness gradient visible. The larger the screen, the more pronounced that effect usually is. That's also true for the Kindle Scribe, but it's not bad enough to get distracting. And as usual, when lowering the brightness, the gradient becomes a little less obvious. Because the display is lit using this technology, the LEDs don't directly shine into your eyes like it's the case with a regular tablet or smartphone, but light is scattered almost like it's coming from an outside source, which many find more comfortable, myself included. The Scribe also has a light sensor to adjust screen brightness automatically. And the color temperature adjustment can also be automated by time of day. Contrast levels of the ink screen are very good and on par with other current ink cutter 1200 models. So text is readable easily in every lighting situation. But that high contrast level comes at a small cost. Ghosting is one of the Kindle Scribe's weak spots, at least partially. In case you don't know the term, the partial leftover of previously displayed content on the screen is called ghosting. When turning pages in an ebook, ghosting is not really an issue on the Kindle Scribe. There's barely any visible. But when writing handwritten notes on a blank page inside a notebook and removing those lines with the eraser, there's some obvious ghosting happening. Interestingly, this is limited to the eraser function and isn't as obvious when using the undo function to remove the line. so Amazon might be able to do something about it with a future software update. As of now, that can be a bit annoying if you're using the eraser often. Okay, so now that we have talked about the most important hardware features, let's also have a closer look at the software. Before jumping right in, I want to quickly mention that the Kindle Scribe is the first Kindle that you can't use without an account. You need to register and log in to an Amazon account to use it, which, as everybody knows who watched my reviews of Kobo e-readers, I'm not a big fan of. I don't like being forced doing so. However, in this case, I suspect most potential Kindle Scribe users won't mind because they will buy the e-reader with an existing Amazon account and would have connected it anyway. One thing I love about the user interface is its very spacious feel. The 10.2-inch screen allows to display much more content, which makes everything look cleaner and better organized, even though the Kindle Scribe is using the same user interface as the other Kindles. The main navigation at the bottom of the screen was extended by a Notebooks menu item. There's now also a shortcut besides the search bar to quickly create a new note. So let's first check out handwriting functions in Notebooks before having a look at annotations in PDFs and ebooks. When creating a notebook, you have the option to select one of several different layouts, which you can also change later on. So that's pretty convenient for different types of notes, to-do lists, etc. You can also organize notebooks in folders, which are virtual folders not represented in the file system. And after having given so much praise so far, there must be room for criticism as well. What's very obvious when first opening a notepad is the comparatively limited functionality. The toolbar only offers a pen and highlighter as input options, both with 5 different stroke thickness options, but not as many different pen options as the competition. What's also clearly different from the Remarkable 2 is pressure sensitivity. I'm mentioning the Remarkable 2 repeatedly because it can be seen as the main competitor and it does an exceptional job at implementing pressure sensitivity to give a more paper-like writing experience. Amazon didn't specify if the Kindle Scribe's touchscreen is pressure sensitive and is actually handling it a bit differently. The pen works with the slightest touch of the screen, so there's no need to put much pressure on it, like with most of the pen options on the Remarkable 2. And while it's not obvious at first, the Kindle Scribe also supports pressure levers, but on a much reduced scale. When pressing hard on the screen, the line indeed gets a bit thicker when using medium stroke thickness or one of the 2 levels above, but only just barely, so it looks like the Scribe is effectively only supporting 2 pressure levels software-wise. I suspect the hardware for more refined pressure levels is already in there, so let's wait and see if Amazon is actually expanding functionality in the future. Even with the limited pen options, the writing experience itself is pretty good though. Palm rejection works well most of the time, so you can simply rest your hand on the screen while writing with the pen without any issues. And as mentioned earlier, the low latency provides a great paper-like writing experience. Still, there's quite a few useful features missing, which we've already seen in other devices. First and foremost, I am missing a page overview inside a notebook, which is partially available for PDF files. More on that in a second. You can show the page numbers in the bottom left corner, but you can't pull up an overview of all pages inside a notebook. There's no way to navigate between pages except swiping left and right, which obviously isn't very practical with larger notebooks. Also missing is a selection tool to move notes on a page, a tagging system, layers, handwriting recognition, or a search function in notebooks. Not all competitors have all of this function either, but it shows there's definitely room for improvement function-wise. Also missing are the sticky notes inside the notebooks, which the menu lists as being available in them as well. So I suspect Amazon is still working on features and will expand functionality in the future. As of now, it's a great writing experience in general, but with a rather limited feature set. Speaking about sticky notes, let's talk about note-taking inside Kindle ebooks. Besides the usual QWERTY keyboard option, we know from other Kindles, you can also create handwritten notes. Instead of directly writing on the page, you need to create a sticky note where you can make the handwritten annotation inside a pop-up window. You can create a sticky note with the virtual QWERTY keyboard as well, and also by doing it, as always, by highlighting a word. That's 2 different note-taking functions within Kindle ebooks. The note is saved at the position you chose and can be opened with a tab. The reason Amazon doesn't allow to create handwritten notes directly on a page inside a Kindle ebook is probably due to the fact that it's impossible to position them reliably. Simple text size adaptations where the text flow changes would cause the annotations to be positioned incorrectly. Taking notes in a PDF also gets interesting because it's not as straightforward as you'd expect. You can simply copy PDF files to the Kindle Scribe via USB-C, but when doing so, you can't use the note-taking features. Instead, you're left with the default PDF function we know from other Kindles. To create handwritten notes inside of PDF files, you need to use the Send to Kindle function, which Amazon recently relaunched, most likely in preparation for the Kindle Scribe's market launch. A PDF sent this way is processed automatically and is available in your library a few minutes later. After that, you can simply download and open the PDF file on the e-reader and make the annotations you like. The options are identical to the notebook options I mentioned before, except this time there is a rudimentary page overview to quickly navigate between the pages. While I'm not a big fan of being forced in using a cloud service to being able to create notes locally, it works well for what it is and is included in your Amazon account, so there's no need to pay extra for the cloud synchronization. Also on the plus side is the better overall responsiveness of processed PDF files, which makes the viewing experience better than on other Kindles. Unfortunately, besides the ability to do some note-taking in the PDF, there are no other new options available. Pinch to zoom is pretty much the only thing you can do to enhance readability of large format documents. There are no other viewing modes available. As already mentioned, the synchronization works automatically with your Amazon account, but you can also send notes via email. So the Kindle Scribe doesn't have an inbuilt email client, but sending emails works through the Amazon system, which means you can send notes to the email address in your Amazon account or to up to 5 other emails. Let's also quickly talk about the regular ebook related functions, because at heart, the Scribe is still an e-reader and part of the Kindle lineup. The library has a couple of different filtering and sorting options and uses collections to organize your ebooks. Audiobooks and PDFs you send through the Send to Kindle function are also part of the library. As we know from other Kindles, the dictionary function is among the best in the e-reading space, with over 40 explanatory and translation dictionaries available. The text styling options allow for changes in font weight, text size, font family, and also margins and line height. You can also save your setting in your own theme to quickly switch between different stylings. But that's not all. The Kindle Scribe software also offers a couple of other features which aren't as noticeable at first. With X-Ray, you can get additional information inside an ebook, information on characters, places, and terms. That can be useful if you read more complex, character-heavy titles like Song of Ice and Fire, for example. And with the vocabulary builder, you can test if you remember the words you have looked up, while WordWise helps you in understanding difficult words directly on the page without having to open a dictionary. What's oddly missing, at least from my review unit, is the Kids mode. The setting is available in the user list, but I couldn't start the Kids mode. While I doubt many parents will get a Kindle Scribe for their kids because it's much more expensive than other Kindles, it still would have been nice to have the option. You can listen to Audible audiobooks via Bluetooth and compatible speakers or headphones. The player itself is pretty simple, but does its job. Unfortunately, you can't sideload music or audiobooks, so you are dependent on Audible for that functionality. One great feature, which isn't mentioned too often but always blows my mind when I'm using it, is Whispersync for voice. If you bought an ebook and the corresponding audiobook, you can switch between the ebook and the audiobook on the fly and continue at the position you ended in either one. But that only works for compatible titles and not for every ebook or audiobook. And although an ebook is usually discounted when you already own the audiobook, it is still an additional cost. So while it's a super useful feature, it can get expensive if you want to use it often. The built-in store lets you directly buy ebooks and audiobooks with your Amazon account. Setting it up is super easy, because if you ordered the Kindle Scribe from the Amazon website and chose to link it to your account, you don't need to enter any payment details. Just connect to your Wi-Fi and your account is already linked. The shop itself is divided into Kindle ebooks and Audible audiobooks. The recommendation system works well for your previous purchases. I have been using the Kindle Scribe for the past couple of days, and while I can't comment on Amazon's claims of weeks or even months of battery life depending on how you use it, I can say that the battery life seems to be very good. Because over the past couple of days I have been using the Kindle Scribe heavily with note-taking and the illumination usually always on, and was only able to drain 30% of the battery. So to me that looks like that the Kindle Scribe indeed can last a couple of weeks, even months, depending on how you use it. There are 4 options available for the Kindle Scribe. The 16 gig version with the standard stylus or premium stylus, and the 32 gig and 64 gig version, both with the premium stylus. Roughly 4.5 gigs are reserved by the system, so 11.5 gigs are available to use on the 16 GB model. The cheapest version is available for $340 US. The most expensive version costs $420. I suspect the 16 gigs version will suffice for most people, but having 2 additional storage options available, especially for anyone regularly listening to audiobooks, are nice options to have. Excluding audiobooks, just for books and notebooks, the 16 gigs version will be enough. Only long-term usage with lots of large PDF files might push the 16 gigs to the limit. So what's my final verdict? In my opinion, the Kindle Scribe is a super convenient, great value e-reader with solid note-taking capabilities. But as you can hear from the wording, it's an e-reader first and a note-taking device second. And that clearly shows in its software features. While the e-reading functions are extensive thanks to regular software updates of previous Kindle models over the years, the note-taking features are at the starting point. They are solid, but not meant to compete with the heavyweights of the market. Not yet anyway. As an e-reader, the Kindle Scribe is hands down one of the best out there. Exceptional hardware is combined with great software features. For everybody who wants to read ebooks, listen to Audible audiobooks, and quickly and easily wants to take notes in an informal setting. As your primary note-taking device in a more professional setting, the Kindle Scribe is currently missing a few helpful software features. While the basic functionality feels good and works fine, some important functions for heavy use are not there yet. I suspect Amazon will expand the feature list in the future, same as they did with the Kindle e-reading functions over the years. But as always, only purchase the actual product and not hopes and promises. As of now, I can recommend the Kindle Scribe to anyone who mainly wants to read on a big screen, wants to easily create notes with the same device, and is not primarily looking for a digital notepad. I will do a separate comparison of the Kindle Scribe and the Remarkable 2 in another video, so subscribe to the channel to not miss that. If you found this video useful, please also consider leaving a thumbs up to help out with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for your time watching, and see you in the next one.